Most people never lose because they lack talent. They lose because they spend their lives watching everyone else. They compare. They compete. They chase approval. And while they are busy measuring someone else's progress, their own life stands still. This audiobook is about ending that habit forever. From this moment forward, your attention becomes your greatest investment. Every minute you stop looking outward is another minute spent building yourself. Focus is power. Discipline is freedom. And when you finally become obsessed with your own growth instead of everyone else's opinion, winning stops being luck. It becomes inevitable. Chapter 1. Stop watching everyone else. Look around. Almost everyone is watching someone else. They are watching people who seem richer, smarter, stronger, more successful. They scroll through endless pictures, endless opinions, endless achievements. They measure their own lives against carefully edited moments from strangers. Then they wonder why they feel behind. This is where ambition quietly dies. Not because people are incapable, not because opportunity disappeared, but because comparison steals the energy that ambition needs to survive. The greatest thief in your life is not failure, it is distraction. And comparison is one of the most dangerous distractions of all. You have a choice. You can spend your attention building your own future, or you can spend it watching someone else build theirs. That's the key. Every minute has an owner. Either you own it, or someone else does. Most people never notice when comparison begins. It feels harmless. It starts with curiosity. You wonder how someone else is doing. You check one profile. You watch one video. You read one article about another person's success. Then one comparison becomes 10. 10 become a habit. The habit becomes your identity. Eventually, you know everything about everyone else's progress and almost nothing about your own. Think about social media for a moment. The platforms themselves are not the enemy. The problem is unconscious consumption. You wake up intending to improve yourself. Instead, 30 minutes disappear. An hour disappears. Sometimes an entire evening disappears. Not because you were learning, not because you were creating, because you were watching. Watching people travel, watching people buy houses, watching people celebrate promotions, watching people become healthier, watching people build businesses, watching people live lives you wish you had. Meanwhile, your own life waits. Your goals wait. Your discipline waits. Your future waits. Their path is not your path. Repeat that. Their path is not your path. Someone else's timeline has absolutely nothing to do with yours. Life is not a race where everyone starts at the same place. Some inherit wealth. Some inherit problems. Some discover purpose at 20. Others at 50. Some succeed quickly. Others build slowly. None of that changes what you must do today, because today's work belongs to you, not to them. Comparison quietly convinces you that you're late. But compared to what? Compared to whom? The answer is usually someone whose entire story you don't even know. You compare your behind-the-scenes struggles with someone else's highlight reel. That is not reality. That is illusion. And illusion destroys momentum. You have a choice. You can believe the illusion, or you can return to reality. Reality says there is work to do. Reality says improvement is available today. Reality says your future is still under construction. That's the key. Comparison also creates emotional exhaustion. You begin every day emotionally reacting instead of intentionally acting. You feel jealousy, then frustration, then insecurity, then hopelessness. Not because your life became worse, because your attention moved away from your own progress. Think about the workplace. Someone receives a promotion. Immediately, people begin asking questions. Why them? What do they have that I don't? When will it finally be my turn? Few people ask a better question. What skills should I develop? What habits should I improve? What responsibility can I take? One question creates resentment. The other creates growth. It's not about competition. It's about preparation. You don't need their permission. You don't need everyone else to fail so you can succeed. Success is not stolen. It is built. Brick by brick. Day by day. Choice by choice. Their path is not your path. History repeatedly proves this. The people we admire most often disappeared long before they appeared successful. The author who spent years writing before anyone bought the first book. The athlete who trained while nobody watched. The entrepreneur who built a company long before headlines noticed. The musician practicing alone every morning. The scientist conducting thousands of failed experiments. The craftsman perfecting one skill for decades. The public only sees the result. They rarely see the years of invisibility. That invisible season changes everything. Most people cannot tolerate being unseen. They crave recognition too early. They announce goals before building habits. They seek applause before earning mastery. Then disappointment arrives. The disciplined person chooses differently. They become comfortable with silence, comfortable with anonymity, comfortable with slow progress, because they understand something others forget. Attention is your most valuable currency. Read that again. Attention is your most valuable currency. Money can be earned again. Time cannot. Attention determines where your time goes. And where your time goes eventually determines who you become. Imagine two people beginning with identical talent. The first spends 3 hours every evening comparing himself to others. The second spends those same 3 hours learning, practicing, reading, building, writing, improving. 1 year later, who has changed more? Not the more talented person, the more focused person. Because attention compounds. Every focused hour becomes skill. Every skill creates confidence. Every confidence produces action. Every action creates opportunity. Success is rarely mysterious. It is usually concentrated attention repeated consistently. You have a choice. Protect your attention or surrender it. That's the key. Most people believe they need more motivation. They don't. They need fewer distractions. They believe they need another secret. They don't. They need longer periods of uninterrupted effort. They think success belongs to the most gifted. Often, it belongs to the least distracted. It's not about intelligence. It's about attention. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's not about watching winners. It's about becoming one. So stop keeping score. Stop counting someone else's victories. Stop measuring your beginning against another person's middle. Every comparison delays your own progress. Every distraction postpones your own future. Every unnecessary opinion steals another piece of your focus. Instead, become obsessed with your own improvement. Ask yourself different questions. Am I stronger than yesterday? Did I keep my promises today? Did I waste less time? Did I learn something useful? Did I become slightly more disciplined? Those are the only comparisons that matter. Yesterday is your competition, not the internet, not your coworkers, not your neighbors, not strangers you'll never meet. The only life you are responsible for is your own. And that responsibility is powerful because it gives you complete control over today's decisions. The central philosophy of this entire audiobook begins here. Focus on yourself until you win. Not for one day, not for 1 week, until you win. And even then, keep focusing on yourself. Because the goal is not merely success. The goal is becoming the kind of person who can sustain success. Every chapter you hear from this point forward returns to this truth. Focus on yourself until you win. Protect your attention. Guard your energy. Invest in your growth. Their path is not your path. Your future is built by what you repeatedly choose to focus on. Chapter 2. Build your life in silence. There is a strange habit that keeps millions of people trapped. The moment they decide to change their lives, they tell everyone. They announce the business they are going to build. They post about the fitness journey they are about to begin. They tell friends about the book they will write. They describe the discipline they will finally develop. For a moment, it feels incredible. People congratulate them. Friends encourage them. Family members smile. They receive likes, comments, approval. It feels like progress, but it isn't. In many cases, the reward arrived before the work ever began. That is one of the most dangerous psychological traps you will ever face. You have a choice. You can collect applause for your intentions, or you can earn respect through your actions. That's the key. Real work is quiet. Results are loud. Move quietly. Repeat it again. Move quietly. Your future does not care how many people know your plans. It only responds to what you consistently do. Many people mistake talking for building. They believe that explaining their dreams somehow brings those dreams closer. It doesn't. Words are easy. Execution is difficult. Talking creates excitement. Discipline creates transformation. There is a reason so many people start strong and disappear after a few weeks. The emotional reward came too early. When you announce your goals to the world, your brain often mistakes recognition for accomplishment. It feels as though something meaningful has already happened. The urgency fades. The hunger weakens. The work becomes optional. Soon, the gym is empty. The notebook stays closed. The business idea remains unfinished. Nothing changed except the conversation. You don't need their permission. You don't need their excitement. You don't need their approval. You need your own consistency. Move quietly. Imagine a seed planted beneath the ground. For weeks, nothing appears. No leaves, no branches, no flowers. Does that mean nothing is happening? Of course not. The roots are growing, invisible, patient, strong. Without those unseen roots, the first storm would destroy everything above the surface. People work the same way. Before anyone notices your success, your foundation must be built. Character, discipline, skill, patience, self-control. None of these are visible in the beginning. That is why silence is so powerful. It gives you room to grow without interruption. It protects the roots before the tree appears. Too many people expose their dreams while they are still fragile. Every opinion becomes another weight. Every criticism creates doubt. Every expectation creates pressure. Instead of focusing on improvement, they begin performing for an audience. They stop building. They start proving. That is the wrong direction. It's not about proving. It's about becoming. That's the key. Move quietly. History repeatedly reminds us that greatness rarely announces itself. Think about elite athletes. Long before the championship, long before the interviews, long before the medals. There were thousands of mornings when nobody was watching. Dark mornings, cold mornings, lonely mornings. The alarm clock rang. No cameras arrived. No crowd applauded. No one celebrated another workout. Yet they showed up, again, and again, and again. The trophy was built long before it was lifted. The audience only saw the ending. They never saw the years of invisible repetition. The same is true for entrepreneurs. People celebrate successful companies. They admire billion-dollar businesses. They read headlines about overnight success, but the headlines leave something out. Years of uncertainty. Years of rejection. Years of financial pressure. Years of learning. Years of working while everyone else believed nothing was happening. Greatness grows before it is noticed. Remember those words. Greatness grows before it is noticed. Creators understand this better than almost anyone. A writer spends months or years working on pages no one will read until the book is finished. A filmmaker edits countless scenes before the audience watches a single minute. A musician practices the same piece hundreds of times before stepping onto the stage. The masterpiece is never created in public. It is created in private. Privacy protects momentum. That sentence can change your life. Privacy protects momentum. Momentum is fragile. When you first begin building new habits, your confidence is still developing. Your identity is still changing. You do not need unnecessary opinions entering that process. Imagine trying to light a candle during a windstorm. Every gust threatens the flame. That is exactly what happens when you expose new ambitions too early. Someone laughs. Someone doubts you. Someone reminds you of your past failures. Someone asks why you haven't succeeded yet. Now your energy is divided. Instead of moving forward, you're defending yourself. Instead of improving, you're explaining. Stop explaining. Start executing. Move quietly. The strongest confidence is private before it becomes public. You don't need to announce that you're becoming disciplined. Let people notice the difference later. You don't need to declare that you're reading every day. One day, your wisdom will reveal it. You don't need to tell everyone you're building a business. Allow the finished work to speak. Results are excellent communicators. Silence allows confidence to mature. When confidence depends on attention, it becomes weak. When confidence grows through daily action, it becomes unshakable. You have a choice. Seek recognition or seek mastery. Mastery always wins. Many people secretly become addicted to praise. They don't realize it. Every compliment becomes emotional fuel. Every like becomes motivation. Every encouraging comment becomes necessary. Then something dangerous happens. The praise slows down. The audience becomes quiet. Motivation disappears with it. That is emotional dependence. Freedom begins when praise becomes optional. Become addicted to progress instead. Celebrate finishing today's work. Celebrate keeping your promise. Celebrate another distraction resisted. Celebrate another chapter written. Another workout completed. Another difficult conversation handled with maturity. Another day of consistency. These victories matter because they cannot be taken away. Praise depends on other people. Progress depends on you. That's the difference. The less validation you require, the faster you move. Think about the energy you waste wondering what others think. What if they don't approve? What if they criticize me? What if they don't understand? Now ask a better question. What if none of that matters? Because it doesn't. Your future is not determined by public opinion. It is determined by private discipline. Move quietly. Every hour you spend improving is another brick in the foundation. Every promise you keep strengthens your identity. Every silent victory makes the next one easier. This is how unstoppable people are built. Not through dramatic moments, through ordinary days repeated with extraordinary consistency. One quiet morning, one focused afternoon, one disciplined evening, again, and again, and again. Eventually, people begin asking what changed. They assume success happened suddenly. You know better. You remember the invisible mornings, the lonely nights, the disciplined routines, the countless moments when nobody noticed. That is where success was truly created. Silence was never loneliness. Silence was preparation. Silence was protection. Silence was power. Never confuse being unseen with being unsuccessful. Some of the most important work you will ever do will happen when nobody knows it exists. Protect those moments. Respect those moments. Build inside those moments. Because silence is no longer something you fear. It has become your workshop. It has become your classroom. It has become your advantage. The less you need the world's attention, the more attention you can give to your own growth. That is the paradox. The quieter you become, the stronger you become. The stronger you become, the less you feel the need to announce it. Silence becomes your competitive advantage. Move quietly. Build relentlessly. Let your results introduce you long before your words ever do. Chapter 3. Stop chasing validation. One of the greatest prisons in the world has no walls. You cannot see it. You cannot touch it. Yet millions of people live inside it every single day. It is the prison of other people's approval. Many people never ask themselves one simple question: whose life am I actually living? They wake up thinking about what others expect. They dress to impress people they barely know. They choose careers to satisfy family expectations. They remain in relationships to avoid disappointing others. They silence their opinions because they fear rejection. Little by little, they stop living from the inside out. They begin living from the outside in. That is emotional dependence. And emotional dependence is expensive. Every decision must first pass through the opinions of other people. Every dream requires someone else's approval. Every action waits for permission. Eventually, you forget what you actually want. You only remember what everyone else expects. You have a choice. You can spend your life asking for approval, or you can spend your life earning your own respect. That's the key. You don't need permission. Repeat it again. You don't need permission. No one is coming to officially declare that now is your time. No committee will approve your dreams. No stranger will arrive to announce that you are finally worthy. Life does not work that way. The people who build extraordinary lives eventually stop asking. They simply begin. Think about how often people postpone their own future because of imagined judgment. I'll start the business when people believe in me. I'll go back to school after everyone supports the decision. I'll write the book once I know people will like it. I'll change careers when nobody criticizes me. Listen carefully. That day never arrives. Someone will always disagree. Someone will always doubt you. Someone will always believe you should stay exactly where you are. If your courage depends on universal approval, you will never move. That's why permission is such a dangerous illusion. The permission you are waiting for does not exist. Give it to yourself. You don't need permission. Many dreams never die because they are impossible. They die because their owner became addicted to acceptance. Acceptance feels safe. Growth rarely does. Imagine a young artist with extraordinary talent. Instead of creating the work that truly matters, they begin asking one question before every project. What will people like? Notice what happened. Their creativity no longer belongs to them. It belongs to the audience. The same happens in business. A leader avoids difficult decisions because employees might become unhappy. A student chooses a degree that impresses relatives instead of pursuing meaningful work. An entrepreneur delays launching a product because strangers on the internet may criticize it. Little by little, identity disappears. Performance replaces authenticity. It's not about popularity. It's about integrity. That's the key. You were not born to become everyone's favorite person. You were born to become your strongest self. There is a powerful difference between listening to wise advice and living for approval. Wise advice helps you improve. Approval controls your behavior. One develops you. The other owns you. Know the difference. Learn from people. Respect people. But never surrender your future to their opinions. Because opinions change. Today's supporter becomes tomorrow's critic. Today's critic becomes tomorrow's admirer. If your identity changes every time public opinion changes, you will never know who you are. You don't need permission. Confidence does not appear because someone compliments you. Real confidence grows somewhere much quieter. It grows every time you keep a promise to yourself. Think back to a promise you once made. Perhaps you promised to wake up earlier, to exercise consistently, to save money, to study every day, to stop wasting time. Every time you followed through, something invisible happened. You became slightly more trustworthy to yourself. That matters far more than most people realize, because your relationship with yourself determines every other relationship in your life. If you repeatedly break promises to yourself, your own mind stops believing you. You say you'll wake up early. You don't. You promise to finish the project. You delay it. You decide to stop procrastinating. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. Eventually, your subconscious reaches a painful conclusion. You don't mean what you say. Confidence disappears, not because you lacked talent, because you stopped trusting yourself. That's the key. Self-trust is earned, never demanded. Every promise kept sends your mind another message. I can rely on myself. That sentence changes everything. When life becomes difficult, you don't panic. You remember your history. You remember every obstacle you already survived. You remember every commitment you honored. Confidence is no longer based on emotion. It is based on evidence. Evidence created through action. External validation can never provide that. A compliment feels good, but only for a moment. Praise fades. Recognition fades. Applause fades. Yesterday's achievement quickly becomes today's expectation. If confidence depends on compliments, you will spend your entire life chasing another one. That race never ends. Internal validation is different. Internal validation asks only one question. Did I become better today? Not richer. Not more famous. Better. Did I keep my word? Did I act with discipline? Did I stay focused? Did I do the difficult thing instead of the easy thing? Those answers belong only to you. Nobody can give them. Nobody can take them away. That is lasting strength. You have a choice. Depend on applause, or depend on your own standards. One disappears. The other grows stronger every day. Many people secretly confuse attention with value. They believe they matter only when someone notices them. But think about the strongest people you know. Are they constantly demanding recognition? Usually not. They work. They improve. They lead. Quietly. Their confidence is not borrowed. It is built. That is why criticism cannot easily break them. Their identity was never built on compliments in the first place. Imagine two builders constructing identical houses. One builds on sand. The other builds on stone. The houses may look similar at first, but when the storm arrives, the difference becomes obvious. External validation is sand. Internal character is stone. Storms reveal foundations. Life will test yours. Replace applause with self-respect. This is where true freedom begins. Self-respect is different from arrogance. Arrogance says, "I'm better than everyone else." Self-respect says, "I refuse to become less than I know I can be." One compares, the other commits. Every completed promise strengthens that commitment. You finish today's workout. You become someone who finishes. You complete another chapter. You become someone who completes difficult work. You resist another distraction. You become someone who controls your attention. Identity is never created by declarations. It is created by repetition. Every disciplined action casts another vote for the person you are becoming. Read one page. Cast a vote. Wake up on time. Cast another vote. Choose honesty over convenience. Another vote. Practice instead of procrastinate. Another vote. At first, the changes seem invisible. Then, something remarkable happens. One day, you notice that discipline no longer feels forced. Keeping your word feels natural. Working without praise feels normal. Doing the difficult thing feels expected. You're no longer pretending to be disciplined. You have become disciplined. That transformation cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed. It cannot be given by another person. It is earned. Self-trust becomes unstoppable because every success reinforces the next one. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" Your history has already answered. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" Because you know you'll keep showing up regardless. Failure no longer defines you. Consistency does. You no longer chase confidence. You create it. One promise at a time. One decision at a time. One disciplined day at a time. You don't need permission. You need commitment. You don't need more compliments. You need more evidence that you can depend on yourself. Build that evidence every day. Protect it. Respect it. Because the person who trusts themselves is almost impossible to stop. No criticism can erase years of discipline. No rejection can destroy a foundation built on self-respect. No opinion can control someone whose worth comes from within. Chapter 4. Protect your attention. Like wealth. Imagine waking up every morning with a bank account that receives $86,400. Every day. No exceptions. There is only one rule. Whatever you fail to invest disappears forever at midnight. Would you waste it? Would you hand it away carelessly? Would you spend it on things that never matter? Of course not. Yet every single day, you're given something even more valuable. 86,400 seconds. Unlike money, they cannot be replaced. Unlike money, they cannot be earned back. Unlike money, they do not wait. And what determines how those seconds are spent? Your attention. That is why attention has become the rarest resource in the modern world. Not intelligence, not talent, not opportunity. Attention. The person who controls their attention controls the direction of their life. The person who loses control of it eventually loses control of everything else. You have a choice. You can invest your attention, or you can allow the world to spend it for you. That's the key. Guard your attention. Repeat it. Guard your attention. Most people believe they have a time management problem. They don't. They have an attention management problem. Everyone receives the same 24 hours. The difference lies in where the mind stays. One person sits down to work. Another notification appears. They check it. 5 minutes disappear. Then another message arrives. Another video. Another headline. Another recommendation. Before they realize it, an hour has vanished. Nothing meaningful was created. Nothing important was completed. Their attention was stolen one tiny piece at a time. That is how modern distraction works. It rarely attacks all at once. It leaks, minute after minute, decision after decision, until your future has quietly been exchanged for temporary entertainment. Every distraction has a hidden price. That price is rarely visible today. It appears years later. The chapter never written. The business never started. The promotion never earned. The relationship never strengthened. The health never restored. Every distraction whispers the same lie. This won't matter. But thousands of tiny distractions always matter. A single drop of water seems harmless. Enough drops carve through stone. Small moments repeated shape entire lives. It's not about one distraction. It's about a distracted identity. Guard your attention. Think about how carefully wealthy investors protect their money. They don't spend recklessly. They evaluate every investment. Every purchase has a purpose. Now ask yourself another question. Do you protect your attention with the same discipline, or do you give it away for free? One careless click becomes 20 minutes. One unnecessary argument consumes an afternoon. One evening of mindless scrolling becomes another unfinished week. Everywhere you look, someone wants your attention. Companies compete for it. Advertisements compete for it. News organizations compete for it. Social media platforms compete for it. Streaming services compete for it. Even people compete for it. Why? Because attention is valuable. If billion-dollar companies are fighting to capture your attention, shouldn't you fight just as hard to protect it? You don't need their permission. You don't need to respond immediately. You don't need to know everything happening in the world this very second. You need enough attention left to build your own life. That is what matters. Today's world rewards reaction. Successful people reward intention. There is a difference. Reaction means someone else chooses your priorities. Intention means you choose them yourself. That's the key. Consider the endless stream of notifications that surrounds modern life. A vibration, a sound, a flashing icon. Each one seems insignificant. But every interruption forces your brain to change direction. It takes energy to refocus. It takes effort to return. Most people underestimate this cost because they never see it. Imagine trying to read a book while someone interrupts you every 3 minutes. Imagine building a house while constantly being pulled away from the construction site. Imagine planting seeds, but digging them up every afternoon to check whether they are growing. Progress becomes impossible. Deep work requires uninterrupted attention. Greatness requires deep work. Therefore, greatness requires protected attention. Guard your attention. Entertainment itself is not the enemy. Rest is necessary. Laughter matters. Relaxation has value. The danger begins when entertainment becomes escape. When every uncomfortable emotion is immediately covered by another video, another episode, another game, another endless feed. Instead of solving problems, people postpone them. Instead of creating, they consume. Instead of reflecting, they distract themselves. Hours disappear. Months disappear. Years disappear. Then they ask where the time went. It went exactly where their attention went. Information overload creates another trap. Never before has humanity had access to so much knowledge. Yet many people know more than ever while accomplishing less than ever. Why? Because collecting information feels like progress. Reading another productivity article feels productive. Watching another motivational video feels productive. Listening to another podcast feels productive. But knowledge without execution changes nothing. There comes a moment when learning becomes another form of procrastination. The successful person understands this. At some point, the book must close. The phone must be put away. The lesson must become action. It's not about knowing more. It's about applying more. That is the discipline. Look closely at highly successful people. They often have surprisingly simple lives, simple schedules, simple routines, simple priorities, simple environments. This surprises many people. They expect successful individuals to juggle dozens of priorities at once. Instead, they eliminate everything that doesn't matter. They say no more often than yes. They decline invitations. They avoid unnecessary meetings. They reduce decisions. They simplify wardrobes. They simplify calendars. They simplify habits. Why? Because every unnecessary decision drains attention. Every unnecessary commitment steals focus. Simplicity produces productivity. Repeat it. Simplicity produces productivity. Complexity creates confusion. Confusion creates hesitation. Hesitation destroys momentum. Successful people simplify until excellence becomes inevitable. Imagine carrying a backpack. Every distraction adds another stone. One notification. Another stone. One unnecessary obligation. Another stone. One toxic relationship. Another stone. One meaningless argument. Another stone. Eventually, you're exhausted. Not because life became impossible, because you insisted on carrying what never belonged to you. Put the stones down. Guard your attention. Attention management is not something you practice once. It is a daily discipline. Every morning begins with a decision. What deserves my attention today? Not who demands it. Not what screams the loudest. What actually deserves it. There is enormous wisdom in asking one simple question before every activity. Will this move my life forward? If the answer is yes, continue. If the answer is no, reconsider. That single habit can transform your future. Because life is built by repeated decisions, not dramatic ones, ordinary ones. You have a choice. Spend another hour reacting, or spend another hour creating. Spend another hour consuming, or spend another hour improving. One choice seems small. 10,000 choices become a destiny. Protecting focus is protecting your future. Think of attention like sunlight. When scattered across an entire field, it provides warmth. When concentrated through a magnifying glass, it creates fire. Your mind works the same way. Scattered attention produces average results. Concentrated attention changes lives. Become the person who finishes what they start. Become the person who can sit with one difficult task until it is complete. Become the person who chooses purpose over impulse. That ability is becoming increasingly rare, which means it is becoming increasingly valuable. Small distractions rarely announce themselves as dangers. They disguise themselves as harmless moments. I'll just check one message. I'll watch one short video. I'll respond later. Nothing dramatic happens. Until you realize those harmless moments have quietly consumed years of your life. The greatest losses are often invisible, not because they happen suddenly, because they happen slowly. One distraction today, another tomorrow, another next week. Eventually, your future has been traded away one interruption at a time. Do not let that happen. Your attention deserves protection. Your goals deserve protection. Your potential deserves protection. Guard your attention, because every minute you reclaim becomes another investment in the person you are becoming. Your future self is built by what you consistently pay attention to today. Choose wisely. Choose deliberately. Choose with discipline. Chapter 5. Become impossible to distract. The world does not reward the person who starts the most projects. It rewards the person who finishes them. That sounds simple. Yet most people rarely finish anything that truly matters. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack opportunity, because they are constantly interrupted. A notification arrives, a conversation begins, an email appears, a random thought pulls them away. Another task feels more exciting, another opportunity looks more attractive. Before long, they are moving all day but accomplishing very little. They confuse activity with progress. But movement is not the same as momentum. Being busy is not the same as being productive. That's the trap. You have a choice. You can react to every distraction, or you can become impossible to distract. That's the key. Stay with the work. Repeat it. Stay with the work. Every time you resist a distraction, you strengthen something invisible. Your discipline. Discipline is not built during extraordinary moments. It is built during ordinary temptations. The temptation to check your phone. The temptation to leave difficult work unfinished. The temptation to chase something easier. The temptation to avoid discomfort. Each temptation asks the same question. Who is in control? You or your impulses? Every time you choose the difficult path, your answer becomes clearer. I am. That answer is powerful. Because identity is formed through repeated choices. Every distraction resisted is another vote for becoming a disciplined person. Every interruption accepted is another vote for becoming an easily distracted one. You are always casting votes, whether you realize it or not. Stay with the work. Think about what happens when you finally reach deep concentration. Your ideas become clearer. Problems begin solving themselves. Creativity expands. Connections appear that were invisible before. Time seems to disappear. You stop forcing progress. Progress begins flowing naturally. Psychologists often describe this as a state of complete immersion. Artists know it. Scientists know it. Athletes know it. Inventors know it. It is one of the most valuable mental states you can experience. Yet it is also one of the easiest to destroy. One notification, one unnecessary conversation, one glance at your phone. The spell breaks. The momentum disappears. You must begin climbing the mountain again. Most people never realize how expensive interruptions truly are. They think the distraction lasted only 30 seconds. It didn't. The interruption ended in 30 seconds. But rebuilding concentration may take 15 or 20 minutes, sometimes longer. Multiply that by dozens of interruptions every day. Now imagine the hidden cost over 5 years. Not minutes, entire months, perhaps years, lost to unnecessary interruptions. Guarding your focus is not selfish, it is responsible. Stay with the work. Imagine digging for water. You dig 10 feet. Nothing. You move somewhere else. Dig another 10 feet. Still nothing. You repeat this process 20 times. Exhausted, you conclude there is no water. The problem was never the ground. The problem was your consistency. Had you continued digging in one place, you would have reached the water. Life works the same way. Most breakthroughs happen just beyond the point where people become distracted. Most people quit too early, or switch directions too often, or abandon the process because something else looks more exciting. Success favors depth, not constant movement. Consider the writer working on a novel. The first chapter is exciting. So is the idea. But somewhere in the middle, enthusiasm fades. The work becomes repetitive, difficult, uncertain. That is where professionals separate themselves from amateurs. The amateur waits for inspiration. The professional stays with the work. Page after page, day after day. Eventually, the book exists. Not because inspiration lasted, because discipline did. Stay with the work. Think about programmers solving complex problems. Hours may pass before a single breakthrough arrives. An interruption during that process is costly, not because they lose 30 seconds, because they lose the mental map they spent hours constructing. They must rebuild it from the beginning. Elite musicians understand this principle as well. Nobody performs beautifully by practicing in fragments. Imagine stopping every 3 minutes during a piano rehearsal. Imagine interrupting every violin exercise to check social media. Mastery becomes impossible. Skill grows through uninterrupted repetition. The same is true for athletes. Olympic champions do not train while constantly switching attention. They repeat movements thousands of times. Again, again, again. Not because repetition is exciting, because repetition creates excellence. Deep work always beats busy work. Busy work creates the appearance of productivity. Deep work creates actual results. Busy work fills calendars. Deep work changes lives. Busy work feels urgent. Deep work creates value. Learn to recognize the difference. Answering dozens of emails may feel productive. Attending endless meetings may feel productive. Rearranging your desk may feel productive. Planning every detail may feel productive. But ask yourself one question. Did this move me meaningfully closer to my goal? If the answer is no, you may have been busy without being productive. That's the key. Deep work asks more from you. It demands patience, focus, discomfort, silence. It asks you to stay with one difficult problem long enough for your best thinking to appear. Few people are willing to do this. That is exactly why it creates extraordinary results. You have a choice. Choose easy stimulation, or choose meaningful creation. One entertains you today. The other transforms your future. Stay with the work. Now ask yourself another important question. Why is distraction so easy? The answer surprises many people, because your environment often makes it easy. Most people rely entirely on motivation. They say, "I'll just try harder. I'll be more disciplined tomorrow. I'll force myself to focus." But discipline alone is rarely enough if your environment constantly fights against you. Imagine trying to eat healthy while your kitchen is filled with junk food. Imagine trying to read while the television blares in the background. Imagine trying to write while your phone lights up every 2 minutes. You're making success unnecessarily difficult. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation. Remember that. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation. Successful people understand this. They don't simply hope to make better choices. They design better environments. The writer closes the internet browser before beginning. The athlete prepares workout clothes the night before. The entrepreneur works in a room without unnecessary interruptions. The student leaves the phone in another room. Notice the pattern. They remove temptation before temptation arrives. That is wisdom, because willpower becomes weaker throughout the day. Systems remain reliable. Build systems that make focus automatic. Create a workspace that reminds your brain one thing happens here. Work, not entertainment, not endless scrolling, not distraction, only work. Turn off notifications that serve no meaningful purpose. Schedule specific times for checking messages instead of responding every few minutes. Decide your priorities before the day begins. If you don't decide what deserves your attention, someone else will. Create rituals that signal the beginning of deep work. Perhaps you make a cup of coffee. Perhaps you sit at the same desk. Perhaps you begin with 5 minutes of planning. Eventually, your mind associates those actions with concentration. Focus becomes easier, not because motivation increased, because the system became stronger. The strongest people rarely depend on feelings. They depend on routines. Feelings change. Systems endure. Every day, make the right behavior slightly easier. Make distractions slightly harder. Move the phone farther away. Close unnecessary tabs. Silence alerts. Protect your mornings. Protect your evenings. Protect the hours when your mind is strongest. Small changes, repeated daily, create remarkable differences. That is how focus becomes automatic. Not through one heroic effort, through intelligent design. Stay with the work. One page becomes a chapter. One chapter becomes a book. One workout becomes strength. One focused hour becomes mastery. One disciplined day becomes an extraordinary life. The person who learns to remain with meaningful work after everyone else has become distracted gains an advantage that compounds for decades. Because while others chase every new opportunity, every new trend, every new distraction, you continue building. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. Eventually, people will call you talented. They will call you gifted. They will ask for your secret. But you will know the truth. You simply stayed with the work longer than everyone else. You became impossible to distract, and that made all the difference. Chapter 6. Let consistency replace motivation. Most people have been taught to wait. Wait until you feel inspired. Wait until you feel confident. Wait until the timing is perfect. Wait until you have enough energy. Wait until motivation arrives. That advice sounds reasonable. It is also one of the biggest reasons people remain exactly where they are. Because motivation is a visitor. It comes. It goes. It appears without warning. It disappears without explanation. If your future depends on something that unstable, your progress will always be unstable too. You have a choice. You can build your life around emotions, or you can build your life around discipline. That's the key. Show up anyway. Repeat it. Show up anyway. The gym is full every January. People are excited. They buy new clothes, new equipment, new journals, new plans. Everything feels possible. Then February arrives. The excitement fades. The workouts become difficult. The mornings become colder. The results become slower. One by one, people disappear. Not because their goals stopped mattering, because their feelings changed. The disciplined person experiences the same emotions. They also wake up tired. They also have difficult days. They also lose enthusiasm. The difference is simple. They show up anyway. That is why they eventually succeed. Success is rarely determined by what you do on your best day. It is determined by what you do on your worst one. Anyone can work when they feel inspired. Anyone can be positive when life is easy. Anyone can stay committed when progress is obvious. The question is different. Who are you when the excitement is gone? Who are you when nobody is encouraging you? Who are you when the results are invisible? That is where character is revealed. Not in comfort. In consistency. Show up anyway. Think about brushing your teeth. You probably do not wake up every morning overflowing with excitement. You simply do it. Why? Because it has become part of your identity. It is automatic. Imagine if your most important goals reached that same level. Imagine if exercising required no debate. Imagine if reading happened without negotiation. Imagine if deep work became as normal as eating breakfast. That is the power of habits. Habits remove unnecessary decisions, and every decision you no longer have to make saves mental energy. Motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this today?" Habit asks, "What else would I do?" That difference changes lives. Many people spend years searching for the perfect motivational speech, the perfect book, the perfect mentor, the perfect morning routine. They believe one more burst of inspiration will finally transform them. But transformation does not happen because you felt inspired once. It happens because you repeated ordinary actions thousands of times. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. That's the key. Look at the strongest bridge. It was not built in one day. Look at the tallest building. It did not appear overnight. Every massive structure begins with one piece placed on another. Again, again, again. Your future works exactly the same way. One disciplined morning seems insignificant. One workout seems insignificant. One page read seems insignificant. One healthy meal seems insignificant. But life does not reward isolated actions. Life rewards repeated actions. That is where the magic begins. Imagine placing $1 into an investment account. Tomorrow it grows slightly, then slightly again, then again. Eventually, something remarkable happens. The growth begins producing more growth. The investment starts working for you. This is called compounding. Most people understand it financially. Few understand it personally. Discipline compounds. Knowledge compounds. Health compounds. Confidence compounds. Focus compounds. Tiny improvements repeated daily eventually create extraordinary results. Every day matters. Repeat it. Every day matters. People often underestimate what one day can do, because one day rarely changes everything, but 1,000 days always do. The person who reads 10 pages every day finishes thousands over time. The person who saves a little money every week eventually builds financial freedom. The person who practices one skill consistently eventually appears gifted. Others call it talent. You know it was repetition. You have a choice. Ignore today's opportunity or invest in it. Every day you invest becomes another brick in your future. Never underestimate a single disciplined day. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. 1 year becomes a completely different identity. The problem is that most people expect dramatic results from small efforts. When those dramatic results fail to appear immediately, they quit. They planted the seed, then dug it up every morning to see whether it had grown. Growth doesn't work that way. Patience is part of discipline. Imagine a sculptor standing before a massive block of stone. One strike with the hammer changes almost nothing. Another strike. Still very little. 100 strikes. The stone barely appears different. Then suddenly, one final strike breaks the stone apart. People watching from a distance believe the last strike created the result. It didn't. Every strike mattered. Every day mattered. The same is true in your life. The workout you almost skipped mattered. The chapter you almost didn't read mattered. The difficult conversation you almost avoided mattered. The temptation you resisted mattered. No single action transformed you. Together, they transformed everything. Show up anyway. One of the greatest lies you will ever hear is this: if I don't feel motivated, today doesn't count. Today counts, especially today. Because difficult days build stronger people than easy ones ever could. Easy days require little discipline. Hard days reveal it. Anyone can move forward when life cooperates. The disciplined person moves forward even when life resists. That is why they become extraordinary. They understand that emotions are temporary. Principles are permanent. Feelings fluctuate. Standards remain. Eventually, something powerful begins to happen. You stop asking, "How do I stay motivated?" Instead, you ask, "What does the disciplined version of me do next?" That question changes your identity. Identity always comes before lasting behavior. If you believe you are simply trying to become disciplined, you will constantly negotiate with yourself. If you believe discipline is who you are, negotiation ends. A disciplined person does not debate whether to keep their word. They keep it. A disciplined person does not wait for inspiration. They begin. A disciplined person understands that excellence is not an event. It is a routine. Shift your identity. Stop introducing yourself as someone who struggles with consistency. Stop repeating stories about procrastination. Stop labeling yourself according to old habits. Your past explains you. It does not define you. Instead, say something different. I am someone who finishes. I am someone who keeps promises. I am someone who shows up. At first, those words may feel unfamiliar. That is normal. Keep proving them through action. Identity follows evidence. Every promise you keep provides another piece of evidence. Every disciplined choice reinforces the person you are becoming. Eventually, consistency stops feeling like effort. It becomes your lifestyle. Think about the people you admire most. Do they occasionally make good decisions? Or do they repeatedly make good decisions? The answer is obvious. Great people are rarely great because of isolated moments. They are great because excellence became ordinary. That is your goal. Not perfection. Predictability. You become so consistent that people know exactly what to expect. If you say you will arrive, you arrive. If you commit to the work, you complete it. If you decide to improve, you continue. Not because you're extraordinary, because you have become reliable. Winning becomes predictable, not guaranteed overnight. Predictable over time, because consistency removes luck from the equation. The person who practices every day will almost always outperform the person who waits for inspiration. The person who writes every morning will eventually finish the book. The person who trains every week will eventually become stronger. The person who learns every day will eventually become wiser. This is not complicated. It is simply uncommon. Most people quit too early. You won't. Show up anyway. When motivation disappears, discipline takes over. When excitement fades, routines continue. When obstacles appear, consistency keeps moving. That is how ordinary people create extraordinary lives. Not through one incredible performance, through thousands of ordinary ones. Every day matters. Every choice matters. Every promise matters. Keep showing up. Keep building. Keep becoming. Because the life you want is not waiting for one perfect moment. It is waiting for one more disciplined day, repeated again and again until success is no longer surprising. It is inevitable. Chapter 7. Master your inner conversation. There is one voice you hear more than any other. It speaks before you wake up. It speaks while you work. It speaks after you fail. It speaks when you succeed. It follows you into every meeting, every challenge, every opportunity, every decision. That voice is your own. Most people spend their lives trying to control the opinions of others. Very few ever learn to control the conversation happening inside their own minds. Yet that conversation determines almost everything. It determines whether you begin or hesitate, whether you persist or quit, whether you see obstacles or opportunities, whether you become stronger or remain the same. You have a choice. You can let your mind speak to you by accident, or you can train it to speak with intention. That's the key. Your mind is always listening. Repeat it. Your mind is always listening. Every sentence you repeat becomes another instruction. Every belief you accept becomes another direction. Your subconscious does not carefully separate jokes from truth. It simply records patterns. If you repeatedly tell yourself, "I'm lazy," "I'm always behind," "I never finish anything," "I'm just not disciplined," your mind begins organizing your behavior around those statements. Eventually, your actions match your identity. Not because those statements were true, because you repeated them until they became familiar. Words become beliefs. Beliefs become habits. Habits become identity. That is why your inner conversation matters so much. Imagine planting seeds. You cannot plant weeds every day and expect flowers to grow. Your thoughts work the same way. Negative thinking rarely destroys your future in one dramatic moment. It does something quieter. It lowers your expectations. It convinces you not to try. It encourages hesitation. It whispers, "Why bother? What if you fail? You're probably not good enough." Those whispers seem harmless until years pass. Then you realize they quietly shaped your entire life. Your mind is always listening. Think about two people facing the same challenge. Both lose their jobs. Both experience uncertainty. Both feel afraid. One person says, "My life is over. I'll never recover. I'm just unlucky." The other says, "This is difficult, but I can learn. I've survived hard things before. I'll build again." Notice something important. Neither person changed reality. Both still lost the job. But one conversation creates helplessness. The other creates possibility. The difference is not the event. The difference is interpretation. That's the key. Your inner conversation becomes your emotional environment. If that environment is filled with fear, doubt, and defeat, confidence struggles to survive. If that environment is filled with discipline, courage, and responsibility, confidence naturally grows. Your circumstances matter, but your interpretation matters even more. You don't need their permission. You don't need everyone else to believe in you. You need your own mind working with you instead of against you. Too many people become their own harshest critic. They speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another person. One mistake becomes proof of failure. One setback becomes evidence they are incapable. One bad day becomes an excuse to surrender. Imagine saying those same words to someone you love. You wouldn't. So why say them to yourself? Discipline does not require self-hatred. Growth does not require constant criticism. Honesty is necessary. Cruelty is not. There is a difference between saying, "I made a mistake," and saying, "I am a mistake." One describes behavior. The other attacks identity. Protect your identity. Correct your behavior. Never confuse the two. Your mind is always listening. That means every excuse matters. Many excuses sound reasonable. "I'm too tired. I'll start tomorrow. I don't have enough time. I'm waiting for the right moment." Listen carefully. Every excuse repeated becomes another brick in the identity you're building. If you constantly explain why you cannot act, eventually your mind accepts that story as truth. Then acting becomes even harder. Replace excuses with better questions. Instead of asking, "Why can't I?" ask, "What's the next small step?" Instead of saying, "This is impossible," say, "This is difficult, but I can learn." Instead of thinking, "I've failed again." Think, "I've discovered another lesson." Those changes may seem small, They are not. They completely change the direction of your thinking. Every thought becomes a vote for your future identity. Read that again. Every thought becomes a vote for your future identity. If every day you tell yourself, I finish what I start, then finish one small task, another vote. If you tell yourself, I keep my promises, then keep today's promise, another vote. If you remind yourself, I stay calm under pressure, then remain composed during one difficult conversation, another vote. Identity is built exactly this way, not by one dramatic declaration, by thousands of repeated votes. Your thoughts influence your actions. Your actions reinforce your thoughts. The cycle continues. So ask yourself an important question. What kind of identity are your thoughts creating today? Are they creating someone who hesitates, or someone who leads? Someone who complains, or someone who adapts? Someone who waits, or someone who acts? Speak like the person you're becoming. Repeat it. Speak like the person you're becoming. Notice that this does not mean pretending. It does not mean ignoring reality. It means aligning your words with your desired direction. A disciplined person speaks differently, not because life is easier, because their standards are different. They say, I'll figure it out. I'll keep learning. I'll stay consistent. I'll return tomorrow. Those statements are not magical. They are commitments, and commitments influence behavior. The strongest people in the world are rarely free from doubt. They simply refuse to let doubt become their identity. They acknowledge fear. Then they continue. They acknowledge uncertainty. Then they continue. They acknowledge difficulty. Then they continue. Your words should move you toward action, not away from it. Emotional control always begins with mental control. People often believe emotions appear from nowhere. They don't. Most emotions follow thoughts. Think fearful thoughts long enough, and anxiety grows. Think grateful thoughts consistently, and perspective changes. Think disciplined thoughts repeatedly, and disciplined actions become easier. This does not mean you control every emotion immediately. It means you influence them daily. Strong minds create strong actions. Weak thinking creates weak decisions. The battle is won internally before it is ever visible externally. Imagine a captain steering a ship. The passengers cannot always see the wheel, but the direction of the ship depends entirely on it. Your thoughts are the steering wheel of your life. People only see your actions. They rarely see the internal conversations guiding them. That is why the strongest discipline is invisible. Before someone wakes up early, they first decide internally. Before someone refuses temptation, they first choose internally. Before someone remains calm during conflict, they first master themselves internally. Internal discipline always appears externally. Everything visible begins invisibly. This is why protecting your inner conversation is one of the greatest investments you will ever make. Guard it carefully. Refuse to entertain thoughts that weaken your standards. Refuse to repeat stories that keep you trapped in the past. Refuse to define yourself by your worst moments. Instead, train your mind deliberately. Every morning, remind yourself who you're becoming. Every evening, review whether your actions matched your standards. Do not ask, did I feel motivated? Ask, did I remain disciplined? Do not ask, did everything go perfectly? Ask, did I continue anyway? Those questions shape identity. Those answers shape destiny. Your mind is always listening. Make sure it hears truth. Make sure it hears discipline. Make sure it hears courage. Because the voice inside your head eventually becomes the life you live outside of it. Master that voice. and you begin mastering yourself. Master yourself, and the outside world loses much of its power over you. Chapter 8. Delay, gratification, multiply results. Every day, life asks you the same question. Not once, not twice, hundreds of times. The question is simple. What do you want more? What you want now? Or what you want most? That single question separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. Most people never lose because they make one catastrophic decision. They lose because they repeatedly choose immediate comfort over lasting fulfillment. One unnecessary purchase, one skipped workout, 1 hour of procrastination, one unhealthy meal, one excuse. None of those choices seem significant. But life is not shaped by isolated decisions. It is shaped by repeated ones. You have a choice. You can satisfy today's impulse, or you can strengthen tomorrow's future. That's the key. Choose later over now. Repeat it. Choose later over now. The human brain naturally seeks immediate rewards. It wants comfort, pleasure, certainty, ease. That instinct once helped human beings survive. Today, it often prevents them from thriving, because modern life offers endless opportunities for instant gratification. Food arrives in minutes. Entertainment begins instantly. Purchases happen with one click. Answers appear in seconds. The world teaches you to expect everything immediately. Success refuses to follow that rule. The greatest rewards in life demand patience. They demand repetition. They demand waiting. That is why so few people experience them. Imagine planting an apple tree. You do not expect fruit tomorrow. You water it, protect it, nurture it, season after season. Eventually, it rewards your patience. Now imagine digging it up every week because it hasn't produced fruit yet. That sounds ridiculous. Yet people do exactly that with their goals. They exercise for 2 weeks, then quit. They study for 1 month, then stop. They save money briefly, then spend everything. They expect extraordinary results from ordinary patience. When reality moves more slowly than emotion, they surrender. Success belongs to those who stay. Choose later over now. Every sacrifice is an investment. That sentence changes everything. Most people hear the word sacrifice and immediately think about loss. They imagine giving something up, missing out, being deprived. But disciplined people think differently. They understand they are not losing something. They are exchanging something, trading temporary pleasure for permanent progress, trading comfort for capability, trading convenience for freedom. Think about the person who chooses to read for an hour instead of watching another episode. What did they really sacrifice? 1 evening of entertainment. What did they gain? Knowledge that may influence the next 30 years. Think about the person who saves money instead of buying another unnecessary luxury. What did they sacrifice? A brief emotional rush. What did they gain? Greater security, greater options, greater peace of mind. The sacrifice was temporary. The reward continues. That is an investment. Every disciplined decision plants another seed. Every impulsive decision consumes another harvest. You have a choice. Become a consumer of today's pleasures, or become an investor in tomorrow's possibilities. That's the key. The difference between comfort and fulfillment is enormous. Comfort feels good now. Fulfillment feels good forever. Comfort tells you to sleep longer. Fulfillment tells you to build the life that makes waking up meaningful. Comfort tells you to avoid difficult conversations. Fulfillment tells you that honesty creates stronger relationships. Comfort says, take the easier path. Fulfillment asks, Which path creates the stronger person? Never confuse the two. Comfort is temporary. Fulfillment is lasting. Many people organize their lives around avoiding discomfort. Ironically, they create even greater suffering. Avoid exercise today. Experience poor health later. Avoid saving money today. Experience financial stress later. Avoid learning new skills today. Experience limited opportunities later. Avoid responsibility today. Experience regret tomorrow. The discomfort never disappears. It simply changes shape. Disciplined people understand something different. They choose temporary discomfort to avoid permanent regret. That is wisdom. Look closely at people who achieve lasting success, not temporary success. Lasting success. Whether they are financially successful, physically healthy, emotionally stable, or professionally respected, you will discover one common habit. They repeatedly delay gratification. The wealthy person invests before spending. The healthy person trains before relaxing. The skilled professional practices before celebrating. The wise leader listens before speaking. Again and again, they choose what matters most over what feels best. Not because they possess extraordinary willpower, because they understand consequences. Every decision has one. Immediate pleasure often carries delayed pain. Delayed discipline often carries lasting reward. The future belongs to patient people. Repeat it. The future belongs to patient people. Patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined action continued without immediate reward. It is showing up before results appear. Working before recognition arrives. Saving before wealth exists. Practicing before mastery develops. Patient people are not waiting. They are building. Every day, quietly, consistently. That is why patience creates extraordinary outcomes. Imagine two friends beginning their careers together. The first spends every paycheck immediately. The second saves and invests a small percentage. For years, the difference appears insignificant. Then something remarkable happens. Compounding begins. One person's money begins creating more money. The gap widens dramatically. Life works exactly the same way beyond finances. Read one page every day. Knowledge compounds. Exercise consistently. Strength compounds. Practice kindness. Trust compounds. Protect your attention. Focus compounds. Keep promises. Confidence compounds. Everything valuable compounds through repetition. The tragedy is that most people quit before compounding begins. They stop just before momentum would have carried them forward. Don't be one of them. Choose later over now. Self-control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Every temptation resisted is another repetition. Every impulse controlled is another workout. Every difficult choice strengthens your ability to make the next one. People often believe discipline becomes harder with time. In many ways, it becomes easier. Not because temptation disappears, because identity changes. The disciplined person no longer asks, "Can I resist this?" They ask, "Why would I choose something beneath my standards?" That question reflects a different identity. Practical discipline begins with practical decisions. Do not rely entirely on willpower. Design your life intelligently. If unhealthy food constantly tempts you, remove it from your environment. If your phone interrupts your focus, place it in another room. If late-night entertainment destroys your mornings, establish a fixed bedtime. If unnecessary spending weakens your future, create automatic savings before temptation appears. Remember what you've already learned. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation. Success becomes easier when temptation becomes less convenient. Create distance between yourself and your impulses. Even a few minutes of pause can change everything. When temptation appears, don't immediately respond. Wait. Breathe. Ask yourself, will this decision move me toward the person I want to become? That question interrupts impulse. It returns control to your conscious mind. You have a choice. React automatically, or decide intentionally. That's the key. Another powerful strategy is learning to replace rather than simply remove. Don't only eliminate bad habits. Install better ones. Replace endless scrolling with reading. Replace complaining with journaling. Replace unnecessary spending with investing. Replace passive entertainment with active learning. Nature dislikes empty space. So does behavior. When you remove one habit, replace it immediately with another. Otherwise, old patterns quietly return. Remember this truth. Every temptation resisted strengthens identity. Not because resisting one piece of cake changes your entire life. Not because refusing one distraction makes you extraordinary. Because every decision reinforces who you believe yourself to be. Identity always follows evidence. Each disciplined choice provides another piece of evidence. I am someone who controls myself. Repeat that often enough through action, and eventually it becomes undeniable. Self-control compounds into freedom. At first, that statement sounds backward. Many people believe discipline removes freedom. They imagine rules, restrictions, sacrifices, limitations. But look carefully. Who is truly free? The person controlled by every impulse, or the person capable of choosing their response? Who is freer? The person trapped by debt because they could not delay spending, or the person with financial options because they invested consistently? The person whose health is controlled by cravings, or the person strong enough to enjoy life because they practice discipline? Discipline never steals freedom. It creates it. Impulse creates dependence. Self-control creates independence. That is the reward waiting on the other side of delayed gratification. Freedom. The freedom to choose. The freedom to lead yourself. The freedom to build a future instead of merely reacting to the present. Every disciplined decision brings you closer to that life. Every patient choice becomes another investment. Every sacrifice becomes another brick in a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. Choose later over now. Again and again and again, because one day your future self will look back and realize that the greatest rewards did not come from chasing immediate pleasure. They came from becoming the kind of person who could wait for something greater. Chapter 9. Keep going. When nobody notices. There is a season almost every successful person experiences. Most people never see it. There are no cameras, no applause, no awards, no headlines. Only ordinary days filled with ordinary work. This is the season where futures are built. Ironically, it is also the season where most people quit. Not because the work is impossible, because nobody notices. Human beings naturally enjoy recognition. We like appreciation. We enjoy being acknowledged. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when recognition becomes the reason you work. Because recognition is unpredictable. Discipline cannot depend on something so unreliable. You have a choice. You can work only when someone is watching. Or you can work because excellence has become part of your identity. That's the key. Work without witnesses. Repeat it. Work without witnesses. The strongest foundations are built underground. You cannot see them. Yet they support everything above them. A skyscraper spends months developing its foundation before anyone admires its height. A giant oak tree spreads roots long before its branches reach toward the sky. Nature teaches the same lesson repeatedly. Strength develops invisibly before it becomes visible. Your life follows the same principle. The habits nobody sees become the results everyone notices. The books you read in private, the workouts completed before sunrise, the difficult conversations handled with maturity, the evenings spent learning while others seek distraction. These moments seem insignificant. They are anything but. Invisible effort builds visible achievement. Remember that. Invisible effort builds visible achievement. One workout changes very little. 1 hour of study changes very little. One disciplined morning changes very little. But life does not measure isolated moments. It measures accumulated effort. Every unseen decision becomes another layer of strength. Most people underestimate this because they are addicted to immediate evidence. They want proof that today's effort mattered. They want instant feedback, instant progress, instant success. Life rarely operates that way. Progress often hides before it reveals itself. Think about water heating in a pot. The temperature rises gradually. Nothing dramatic appears to happen. Then suddenly, the water begins to boil. People watching at the end believe the final degree created the transformation. It didn't. Every degree mattered. Your progress works exactly the same way. Every disciplined day matters, even when you cannot see it. Especially then, work without witnesses. One of the greatest dangers is confusing invisibility with failure. They are not the same. A musician practices scales for years before performing on a world stage. A scientist spends countless hours testing ideas that never become famous. An entrepreneur solves problems quietly long before anyone celebrates the company. A writer fills notebooks no one will ever read. None of that effort is wasted. It is preparation. Preparation always comes before performance. People often ask successful individuals, "How did you do it?" What they usually mean is, "What happened during the breakthrough?" They rarely ask the better question, "What happened during the years before the breakthrough?" Because that is where the real story lives. Every public victory is built on private repetition. Every confident performance rests upon countless uncertain beginnings. Every admired expert was once an invisible beginner. Remember that whenever impatience whispers that you are behind, you are building, you are preparing, you are becoming. That's the key. History repeatedly tells the same story. The athlete lifting the championship trophy spent years training before anyone knew their name. The business owner celebrated for innovation experienced countless failures before finding the right solution. The actor who seems to appear overnight spent years attending auditions, hearing rejection after rejection. The author whose book becomes a bestseller often spent years writing when nobody was waiting. The breakthrough was public. The preparation was private. Overnight success is usually years of hidden discipline. Repeat it. Overnight success is usually years of hidden discipline. The world notices outcomes. Life rewards processes. Never confuse visibility with value. Some of your most valuable work may never receive applause. That does not reduce its importance. Recognition always arrives late. Imagine planting seeds across an entire field. For weeks, the landscape appears unchanged. An impatient observer might conclude that nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, roots are forming. Life is preparing something invisible. Then one season changes everything. Growth suddenly becomes visible. People call it luck. You remember the quiet mornings, the lonely evenings, the invisible effort. Recognition simply arrived after the work was already complete. This is why chasing recognition is dangerous. If you expect applause too early, Disappointment will eventually replace discipline. Instead, become obsessed with the process. Fall in love with becoming better, not appearing successful. The appearance follows the process. Never the other way around. You don't need their permission. You don't need constant encouragement. You don't need daily reminders that your effort matters. Your standards are enough. Many people quit one step before momentum begins, not because they are incapable, because they become discouraged by silence. No compliments, no dramatic progress, no obvious rewards. So they stop. Imagine mining for gold. You strike the rock repeatedly. Nothing appears. Again. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. One miner quits. Another keeps going. A few more strikes reveal the treasure. The difference was not talent. It was persistence. No one can predict which effort becomes the breakthrough. That is why every effort deserves excellence. Work without witnesses. One of the greatest transformations happens when you stop asking, "When will people notice?" and begin asking, "Who am I becoming?" That question changes everything, because becoming is always under your control. Recognition is not. If you focus on becoming stronger, wiser, calmer, more disciplined, you win every single day. Even before success becomes visible, the process itself becomes rewarding. This is freedom. The disciplined person enjoys improvement, not merely achievement. Achievement lasts for a moment. Growth lasts a lifetime. Fall in love with unseen progress. Celebrate the victories no one else notices. Celebrate waking up when you promised you would. Celebrate finishing another chapter. Celebrate resisting another distraction. Celebrate choosing discipline over comfort. Celebrate consistency over excitement. These victories are invisible, until one day they are impossible to hide. Results eventually expose consistent effort. People often ask, "What's your secret?" There usually isn't one. The secret is that there was no secret. Only repetition, only patience, only another day of keeping promises. Again, and again, and again. Eventually, invisible habits become visible character. Visible character creates visible opportunities. Visible opportunities create visible success. The chain always begins where nobody is looking. Patience becomes power. Repeat it. Patience becomes power. Not passive waiting. Purposeful persistence. Patient people are not standing still. They are building while everyone else grows impatient. They understand that greatness develops slowly, like mountains, like forests, like wisdom. The strongest things in life refuse to be rushed. Your future deserves that same patience. You have a choice. Demand immediate recognition, or quietly earn lasting respect. One disappears as quickly as it arrives. The other remains. Keep showing up. Keep building. Keep learning. Keep practicing. Keep improving. Even when the room is empty. Even when nobody applauds. Even when progress feels invisible. Especially then. Because those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments your character becomes stronger than your circumstances. Those are the moments where ordinary people turn into extraordinary ones. One silent day at a time. One disciplined decision at a time. One invisible victory at a time. Work without witnesses. Trust the process. Trust your standards. Trust your discipline. One day, the world may notice what you have built. But by then, recognition will no longer be your goal. It will simply be the natural consequence of years spent becoming someone who refused to quit. Chapter 10. Become the person success naturally finds you have reached the final chapter. But this is not the end. It is the beginning of a different way of living. Throughout this audiobook, you have not been collecting motivational ideas. You have been building a new identity. That distinction matters. Ideas fade. Identity remains. Motivation inspires action. Identity sustains it. Temporary excitement disappears. Character endures. The purpose of this journey was never simply to help you achieve more. It was to help you become more. Because everything you consistently achieve in life is limited by the person you believe yourself to be. Change the identity. The results eventually follow. You have a choice. Continue living by old habits, or become someone entirely different. That's the key. Focus is who I am. Repeat it. Focus is who I am. Notice how different that sounds from saying, I want to focus more. One describes a wish. The other declares an identity. Identity changes behavior. Behavior changes outcomes. Outcomes reinforce identity. That cycle continues for the rest of your life. This is why truly successful people stop chasing success. They chase mastery. They chase discipline. They chase growth. Success eventually follows them. Imagine two people beginning the same journey. One asks every day, when will I finally become successful? The other asks, what kind of person must I become today? The first measures external results. The second measures internal growth. Only one question remains useful every single day. Because results are delayed, identity is immediate. Every morning you can choose discipline. Every afternoon you can choose focus. Every evening you can choose consistency. Those choices belong completely to you. That is real power. Success is not something you catch. It is something you attract through repeated character. People often believe successful individuals possess secret advantages. They imagine extraordinary intelligence, perfect timing, natural confidence, endless motivation. Sometimes those things help, but they are rarely the deciding factor. The deciding factor is much simpler. Successful people repeatedly become the kind of person capable of handling success. Without discipline, opportunity becomes waste. Without character, achievement becomes temporary. Without focus, talent becomes scattered. Without self-control, victory becomes fragile. The external reward can never remain larger than the internal capacity supporting it. That is why identity always comes first. Focus is who I am. Every chapter in this audiobook has pointed toward that single truth. You learn to stop watching everyone else, because comparison weakens attention. You learn to build your life in silence, because preparation happens before recognition. You learn to stop chasing validation, because confidence grows from keeping promises to yourself. You learn to protect your attention, because focus determines direction. You learned to become impossible to distract, because deep work creates extraordinary value. You learned to replace motivation with consistency, because habits continue after emotions disappear. You learn to master your inner conversation, because your mind is always listening. You learned to delay gratification, because patience creates freedom. You learned to keep going when nobody notices, because invisible effort eventually becomes visible success. Each lesson appeared different. In reality, every lesson was teaching exactly the same thing. Become the person. Everything else follows. That's the key. Many people spend their lives searching for one extraordinary moment, one lucky break, one brilliant idea, one perfect opportunity, one conversation, one investment, one miracle. Life is rarely transformed that way. Winning is almost never one extraordinary moment. Winning is thousands of ordinary moments. One alarm answered instead of ignored. One page read instead of skipped. One temptation resisted instead of accepted. One promise kept instead of broken. One difficult conversation handled with maturity. One focused hour protected from distraction. One disciplined decision repeated tomorrow. Again, and again, and again. The ordinary creates the extraordinary. Never forget that. Think about a sculptor standing before a block of marble. The masterpiece is not created by one strike of the hammer. It is shaped by thousands. Each strike seems insignificant. Together, they reveal beauty. Your life follows the same law. Every disciplined action strengthens identity. Repeat it. Every disciplined action strengthens identity. When you choose discipline once, you complete one action. When you choose discipline repeatedly, you create a habit. When habits continue long enough, they become character. Character eventually becomes destiny. That is why nothing is wasted. No early morning, no completed workout, no finished chapter, no difficult decision, no act of patience, no quiet sacrifice. Every action leaves evidence. Your subconscious collects that evidence every day. It quietly asks, what kind of person keeps making these choices? Eventually, the answer becomes obvious. I am disciplined. I am reliable. I finish what I start. I keep my promises. I focus on what matters. Notice something important. Those statements no longer feel like affirmations. They become descriptions. That is transformation, not pretending. Becoming. You have a choice. Cast another vote for your old identity, or cast another vote for the person you are becoming. Every decision counts. Many people believe discipline is restrictive. They imagine rules limiting freedom. But now you understand something different. Discipline removes chaos. Focus removes confusion. Consistency removes uncertainty. Self-control removes regret. What remains? Freedom. The freedom to trust yourself. The freedom to build instead of react. The freedom to choose long-term fulfillment over temporary pleasure. The freedom to lead yourself before trying to lead anyone else. This is the kind of freedom success cannot buy. It must be earned. There will still be difficult days. Do not misunderstand this journey. You will still wake up tired sometimes. You will still experience disappointment, criticism, failure, unexpected obstacles. None of that disappears. What changes is you. The old version of you looked for excuses. The new version looks for responsibility. The old version waited for motivation. The new version shows up anyway. The old version searched for approval. The new version keeps promises. The old version reacted. The new version responds. That is the difference. Not a different world. A different person living inside the same world. Stop competing with everyone else. That race has no finish line. There will always be someone richer, someone younger, someone stronger, someone faster, someone with a larger audience, someone with more recognition. If comparison becomes your standard, satisfaction remains impossible. Choose a better opponent. Yesterday. Yesterday is honest. Yesterday tells the truth. Were you more disciplined today? More focused? More patient? More courageous? More responsible? If the answer is yes, then you are already winning. Compete only with yesterday's version of yourself. Repeat it. Compete only with yesterday's version of yourself. That competition never becomes unhealthy. It never creates jealousy. It never requires someone else's failure. Every victory belongs entirely to you. 1% better. Again. Tomorrow. And the next day. Year after year. Eventually, people will notice. Some will call you lucky. Others will say you were naturally gifted. A few may even assume success came easily. Smile. You know the truth. You remember the mornings nobody witnessed, the evenings spent improving, the temptations resisted, the promises kept, the distractions ignored, the invisible victories that slowly became visible results. Success did not suddenly appear. You became someone capable of creating it. And that is the greatest achievement of all. So as this audiobook comes to an end, remember the lesson that connects every chapter into one unshakable principle. Do not chase success. Become the kind of person success naturally finds. Protect your attention. Guard your standards. Honor your promises. Build quietly. Stay disciplined. Keep learning. Keep improving. Keep showing up. Again and again and again. Focus is not something you occasionally practice. Focus is who you are. Discipline is not something you borrow. Discipline is your identity. Growth is not a destination. It is your lifestyle. From this moment forward, stop asking, "When will I finally succeed?" Instead ask, "Who am I becoming today?" Then answer that question with your actions. Every sunrise gives you another opportunity. Every decision gives you another vote. Every day gives you another chance to become stronger than you were yesterday. The world does not need another person distracted by comparison. It needs another person committed to mastery. Be that person. Focus on yourself until you win. And when you win, keep becoming. You have heard the principles. Now you must decide whether they become information or transformation. The world will continue trying to distract you. It will invite you to compare, complain, react, and chase approval. But you no longer belong to that cycle. From this day forward, your attention belongs to your future. Your energy belongs to your mission. Your discipline belongs to your identity. Stop measuring your life against someone else's timeline. Stop waiting for validation. Stop explaining your goals. Build quietly. Improve daily. Stay focused longer than everyone else. One decision becomes one habit. One habit becomes one identity. One identity builds an extraordinary life. So here is your challenge. Beginning today, spend the next 90 days focusing entirely on becoming stronger, wiser, healthier, and more disciplined than you were yesterday. No comparisons, no excuses, no distractions. Focus on yourself until you win. And don't stop when you win. Keep becoming the person who cannot be defeated.